Welcome back, deep divers. Ready for another plunge into the depths of weird news and unsettling events?
Always. What do we got today?
Well, we are diving headfirst into a story that's been buzzing all over the news lately. Unidentified drones over New Jersey.
Ah, yeah, those. I've seen some headlines. What's the deal? Alien invasion, government secrets.
You tell me. That's why you're here, the expert. No, but seriously, for weeks, people have been spotting these mysterious objects, and things are getting a little, well, let's say tense.
Tense how? Give me the rundown.
All right, so we've got witness testimonies, news articles from Fox News, BBC, AP News, even CNN chiming in. Oh, and we can't forget a rather spirited discussion from The Benny Show on YouTube.
The Benny Show. That sounds not familiar.
Let's just say Benny has some strong opinions. But yeah, we're going to try to piece together all these different perspectives to figure out what's actually happening with these drones. Why is everyone so freaked out? And maybe most importantly, are these things dangerous or just a bizarre spectacle?
I'm hooked already. What's the first piece of the puzzle?
Sightings. And tons of them. Not your little kid playing with a drone in the backyard kind of sightings either. We're talking formations of drones, sometimes 10 or 12 at once, so the size of SUVs.
Hold on. The size of SUVs? Are we sure we're not talking about small helicopters or something?
Nope. Witnesses are adamant about it being drones, and not the kind you pick up at the local electronics store. These things are massive, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, now I'm really interested. So where are they seeing these things?
Well, that's another part of what's making everyone so nervous. They've been spotted all over the state. But get this, some of the locations are a little, shall we say, sensitive?
Yeah.
We're talking Piccadilly Arsenal, Trump National Golf Club, even around reservoirs.
Wait, Trump National Golf Club, isn't that?
Where Trump hangs out?
Yep.
Yep, the recently re-elected president-elect.
Yeah,
Adds a whole new layer to things, doesn't it?
No kidding. So we've got huge drones flying in formation near sensitive locations, and this has been going on for how long?
Since mid-November, mostly at night. They've got these weird flight patterns zigzagging around, and witnesses say they turn off their lights when approached.
Sounds like they're trying to avoid detection. Not exactly the behavior of a lost Amazon delivery drone, is it?
Right. Now add to this the first-hand accounts. We've got Christine Glassner, the mayor of Mendham, New Jersey. She actually tried to follow them in her car.
The mayor? That's not someone who's prone to jumping at shadows, right?
Nope, not at all.
Yeah.
And she's pretty clear about what she saw. In her words, it's an organized operation.
Wow. That's chilling, coming from an elected official. So what are the authorities saying about all of this? Surely someone's got some answers.
Well, that's where things get even more interesting, or frustrating, depending on how you look at it. The official responses have been mixed, to say the least.
Okay, I'm dying to know. Who's saying what? Is anyone taking this seriously?
Well, the Pentagon, for one, has been pretty quick to shut down any talk of foreign involvement. Specifically, they denied any Iranian connection.
Iranian. Now, why would they even bring that up?
Right. There's been some speculation, even from Congressman Jeff Van Drew, about a possible Iranian mothership launching drones off the coast.
A mothership. That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but the Pentagon's denying it.
Firmly. Though, as you can imagine, the internet has its own theories.
Oh, I bet. So what about everyone else? What are other officials saying?
Well, the Coast Guard admits to having a run-in with these drones, but claims they didn't seem like a threat at the time. FBI says they're looking into it, but no solid confirmation on anything yet.
Typical. And what about the folks in New Jersey? They must be freaking out.
You'd think, right. Governor Murphy acknowledges the sightings, but says there's no risk to public safety. But even he admits it's frustrating not having any real answers.
So basically, don't worry, but we don't know what's going on. Reassuring.
Exactly. And then you've got Senator Blumenthal, who's taking a much more aggressive stance. He's saying we need to be doing urgent intelligence analysis and maybe even consider taking these drones out of the skies.
Whoa, that's a pretty big leap from no public safety risk.
Talk about mixed messages, right? And to be honest, all this official back and forth is probably just fueling the speculation and anxiety.
No kidding. The internet loves a good mystery, especially one with giant drones. So what are people saying?
Oh, you name it. Sophisticated military tech, rogue operators, even, well, you know how the internet is.
Let me guess. Aliens.
Of course. You can't have a good mystery without throwing extraterrestrials into the mix.
Fair enough. But I have to ask, if this is so unsettling, what are people actually doing about it?
Well, Some New Jersey residents are so fed up with the lack of answers that they're actually threatening to shoot the drones down themselves.
Seriously, that seems like a recipe for disaster.
I know, right?
Huh.
And that brings us to the big question. Just how dangerous could these things actually be? Let's ditch the speculation and dive into the hard facts.
I mean, shooting down a drone, especially one that big, over a populated area, talk about dangerous, not to mention the legal side of things.
Yeah, not exactly a solution I'd recommend. But okay, so let's assume these things are dangerous. What are we even talking about here? Could they be carrying something?
That's the big mystery, right? We don't know for sure what's on board, but we can look at what's possible. And with drones this large...
Oh, you're saying they could actually be carrying stuff? I was picturing more like, spy cameras and that kind of thing.
Cameras are definitely possible, but we're talking serious payload capacity here. Think bigger.
Bigger? Like what? Paintball guns. I'm kidding. But seriously, what could they be carrying?
Well, think about it. Surveillance equipment, sure, but also things like jamming devices, disrupt communications, GPS signals.
Okay, that's not good. But I'm guessing there's worse.
Worst case scenario, explosives.
Explosives. You're not serious.
It's a possibility we can't rule out. And remember where these things have been seen. Reservoirs, power stations, critical infrastructure.
Hold on. This is starting to sound like a Tom Clancy novel.
I know, right? Pretty unsettling. And it's not just about what they're carrying. Think about aviation safety. What happens if one of these things collides with a plane?
Oh my gosh, don't even say that.
And even if they're not carrying anything dangerous, their size alone, those flight patterns, it's a risk.
Right. So it's not just what, but how they're being flown. But who's flying them? That's what I don't get.
It's frustrating, isn't it? The officials are so tight-lipped. Honestly, we're getting more info from random YouTube shows than from the people who are supposed to be, protecting us.
Speaking of YouTube shows, you mentioned that one, The Benny Show.
Oh, yeah, The Benny Show. Quite the character, that Benny. He's absolutely convinced this is a major cover-up.
Cover-up? Like, what does he think is going on?
Well, he keeps using this term obuka. I had to look it up.
Obuka? No clue. Fill me in.
Stands for official but unconfirmed. It's like a conspiracy theory term. Implies the government's hiding something.
Ah, so the classic they're lying to us angle.
Pretty much. Benny's theory is either it's Iran, despite the Pentagon saying no way, or some secret government program gone rogue.
Okay, I got to give Benny credit for creativity. But, the lack of clarity from officials, it does make you wonder.
I get it. When there's a void of information, people fill it in themselves. And with the election and all.
Yeah, there's a lot of distrust already. This whole drone thing just adds fuel to the fire.
Exactly. And that's why transparency is so important. Without it, well, fear and speculation take over.
So, okay, we've got these mystery drones, could be carrying anything, no one knows who's behind them, and the officials are giving mixed signals. What are people supposed to do with that?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Senator Booker is at least pushing for more transparency, wants the FBI, Homeland Security, DOT, all of them to give the public more information.
Makes sense to me. If I saw a giant drone outside my window, I'd want some answers too.
It's not just about calming people down either. More info could help the investigation. If people know what to look for, they're more likely to report things,
Like crowdsourcing the investigation.
Exactly. But even with more transparency, what do we actually do about this? Can't just go around shooting drones out of the sky.
And you said they're good at hiding. So what are the options?
Well, we need better ways to find and track them in the first place.
What, like better radar?
Radar, but also things like acoustic sensors, listening for the drone sounds, and even cameras with AI to spot them.
So basically, a high-tech upgrade to what we already have.
Right. And then there's counter-drone tech.
Counter-drone? Like what? Do you send up a bigger drone to fight it?
No, not quite. Think more like jamming signals, nets to capture them, even lasers to disable their electronics.
Lasers. Now that's just cool.
Yeah.
But also kind of scary.
It's a sign of the times, right? We've got lasers to fight drones. But it also shows how fast technology's changing. We need laws and regulations to keep up.
Yeah, like what are the rules for these things? It feels like the laws are way behind.
Absolutely. We need clear guidelines, especially for things like size, how high they can fly, where they can go, especially near those sensitive spots.
And making sure people actually follow those rules.
Exactly. But that's tough, right? It's one thing to write a law, another to catch someone breaking it. Especially with drones, they're so hard to, pin down.
This whole thing has me thinking about the bigger picture. It's like this drone situation is just a small part of something much bigger.
What do you mean?
I mean, are we really talking aliens here? Or is this more like good old-fashioned spy stuff?
Well, it's probably safe to rule out the extraterrestrials, at least for now. But the rest of it, it's all on the table. Remember, we've got a few main contenders here. Harmless curiosity, a prank, corporate espionage, intelligence gathering, or something even more sinister.
Okay, so harmless curiosity. You're saying there's a chance these are just, like, really enthusiastic drone hobbyists who got a little carried away.
It's a possibility, but honestly a slim one. The scale of these operations, the formations, flying at night near sensitive locations, and actively avoiding detection, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah, a hobbyist wouldn't risk that, right? Especially not with those potential consequences you talked about. What about a prank? Like some elaborate scheme for attention or to cause a ruckus?
I suppose it's possible, but think about it. Disrupting airspace, freaking everyone out, potentially even triggering a security response seems like a pretty high-stakes prank with not much payoff.
And a prank wouldn't really explain why they're hanging around places like Picatinny Arsenal or Trump's golf course.
Yeah.
There's definitely something more targeted going on, right?
Definitely. Which brings us to the more serious stuff. Corporate espionage, intelligence gathering, maybe even something more malicious. Those are the ones that really make you think.
Let's dive into those then. I'm all ears.
All right, so first up, corporate espionage. Could these drones be operated by a competitor or a foreign company trying to steal trade secrets or get a leg up? It's not crazy, considering all the big companies and research facilities in New Jersey.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially with Picatinny Arsenal, they're always working on some top-secret military tech there.
Exactly. But there's a counter-argument, right? Wouldn't there be easier, safer ways to get that kind of info? Why risk such a bold and potentially detectable operation?
Yeah, that's a good point. It seems like a pretty risky move for not a lot of gain.
Right. So then we get to intelligence gathering. Could these drones be part of a bigger surveillance operation, maybe by a foreign government or even, some non-state actor?
Hold on, seriously. Couldn't our intelligence agencies catch them doing that?
You'd think so, right? But technology moves fast, and our adversaries are always coming up with new tricks. These drones could have some serious stealth tech, making them hard to spot with regular radar.
So basically, we could be getting spied on right now and have no idea.
It's a real possibility. And it's not just spying either. Think about disrupting communications, jamming GPS, even cyber attacks. They could be doing all sorts of things.
Okay, now I'm officially creeped out.
It's a pretty unnerving thought, isn't it? And it raises some big questions about national security, about how we defend ourselves against these new threats.
So what can we even do about it, aside from hiding in a bunker and hoping for the best?
Well, for starters, we need better tech to find and stop them. That's what we were talking about earlier, right? The sensors, the countermeasures, the whole 9 yards.
Right, right. But what about the bigger picture? How do we stay safe from these things without, turning into a surveillance state ourselves?
That's the tricky part. Finding the balance between security and freedom, it's a conversation we need to have as a society. And it's only going to get harder as tech keeps advancing.
I don't know. It's kind of a lot to think about. Makes you feel a little powerless, to be honest.
I hear you. It's tempting to just ignore it all, but we can't do that. We have to face these challenges head on, and we have to do it together.
You're right. We need to be informed, engaged, and ready to have those tough conversations, even if they're uncomfortable sometimes.
Absolutely. And we need to support organizations that are out there trying to do just that. Like, certain podcasts dedicated to giving people the information they need to understand this crazy world.
Speaking of podcasts, hey, before we wrap up, I got to remind everyone about our GoFundMe campaign. It's to help us upgrade our equipment and reach even more listeners with those important conversations.
Exactly. With your support, we can keep exploring these complex topics and give you the insights you need to make sense of it all.
So, if you've been enjoying this deep dive into the New Jersey drone mystery, and you think what we do is important, please consider making a contribution.
You can find the link in the show notes. Every little bit helps.
All right, so as we come up for air on this one, I think it's safe to say we still have a lot more questions than answers about these drones.
That's the nature of a good mystery, right? Keeps you coming back for more.
True that. But hopefully we've managed to shed a little light on the situation. The potential dangers, the complexities, and the importance of staying informed.
And the need for critical thinking, not just about this, but about how we approach all these new technologies that are changing the world so fast.
Right on. It's about being aware, asking questions, and demanding transparency from the folks in charge.
And sometimes it's about taking a step back and realizing that we might not have all the answers right away. But the search for those answers, that's what makes it all so interesting.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been a fascinating, if a little unsettling, deep dive. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
Likewise. And to all our listeners out there, keep your eyes open, your minds sharp, and remember, a healthy dose of curiosity can lead to some pretty amazing discoveries, even if they come with a side of mystery.
Well said. Until next time, deep divers. Stay curious out there.